You can dodge forward by turning left or right 45 degrees, and then dodge as you normally would using the Shift and ASD keys. When dodging boss attacks or attacks in general, crouch sliding is often the most effective way to quickly move out. It keeps you low and lets you get out of range of the boss's attacks. When dodging attacks, you should dodge out of the way of the attack instead of into the attack. In KF3, if you make contact with the swing, it counts as a hit. You can dodge the Scrake's grab attack by simply stepping to the side if you are 15 meters away or further. On online modes, latency and lag might actually make this a little bit harder to do, so be warned, it may not work on multiplayer games. Once a Scrake starts doing the double swing, when you get too close to it, it cannot be interrupted unless you destroy a piece of armor, in which you will hear a loud ping noise that sounds like ricocheting bullets on metal. For large Zeds, you cannot straight up block their attacks and receive no damage at all. For example, you cannot straight up block a Scrake's attack, as you'll still take some damage. However, you could still parry attacks like in KF2, but the timing could be a little finicky, so latency and lag could also play a factor. When blocking boss attacks, you can still block for less damage taken, but you'll still take a sizable chunk. When fighting a boss, it's easiest to loop around in a circle around some kind of object with them because they have trouble pathing to you. And it also appears that they need a line of sight on you to continue an attack. If this line of sight is interrupted, then they'll often stop the attack and try to find you again. This could come in handy if you are in a pinch and you, for example, need to heal yourself. If you have a stack or just any ability in general that activates in some kind of situation, you can see it on the bottom left hand of your screen. There is a weapon modification that has a level 3 ability where if I'm within 10 meters from 3 or more enemies, I deal more damage. The warning sign shows how many enemies are near me, and the extra damage is plus damage times 1. You can also see your perk ability stacks as circles, like for example the Commando's Scavenger ability, where this ability stacks are denoted by the vulture. Since your extra damage is denoted by plus damage times 1, it could be assumed that you can stack these kind of things. So for example, this same weapon modification can be repeated on different parts. So you can have multiple 10 meters from 3 or more enemies, which will let you deal more damage. When going for finishers on large Zeds, when you execute the Scrake, it explodes into flames and leaves a lingering flame AoE, which lasts around 10 seconds. And on the Flesh Pound's death, it seems to have an EMP, since it seems like there's an EMP grenade that's shoved into its mouth, and the electricity effect when it is exploding. To be consistent, it's safe to assume it deals AoE electricity damage, although it doesn't linger like the Scrake's explosion. You can bash Zeds to stumble them and interrupt their attack. It also pushes them backwards, so if in case you get pinned in a corner, you can shove a Zed and hopefully make your way out. To activate a turret or anything with a multi-tool, for example the armor chests, you don't need to even stand right next to it. You just need to be looking at it. It could be about 20 meters away and still activate it. Turrets can consistently shoot around 60 seconds, so if there's not enough enemies to shoot at, it can last technically the entire game. You get more experience for destroying these breakable items that give you resources, although the difference in XP is not much even if you go through the entire map. On a similar note, once you nail down the spots where all these breakables are, you can pretty easily hit them whenever you move to raiders. So just generally moving around. Time difference when adding on this task is also barely a couple more seconds, so once you get familiar with these spots, you really get all of the benefit without that much time sacrifice. When the round is over, entering the trader menu heals you back to full health. So if the round's over and you're low on health, don't worry about it, just don't take too much fall damage and you should just be fine. When upgrading your armor automatically fills up to full again. So don't waste your money on repairing your armor and then upgrading it again. When trading up the weapon's value, it depreciates by 20% from the original cost. However, the small cost decrease might be worth it if it means surviving a little longer and just being more efficient. You can shoot off the hook arm of the Scrake so they can no longer hook you, but I wouldn't recommend doing that. You should always try to kill them as quickly as possible through the head, but who knows, you might be able to use it in some niche application in the future. You can shoot the Scrake when they're about to hook you to interrupt their throw. This way you don't always have to dodge. You can block common Z-type attacks and take no damage, but you cannot block too many because they will destroy your block, leaving you open to taking more damage. When Chimera is in his last phase, you can shoot the projectiles instead of dodging. Armor like the Scrake's face mask counts as weak spots. This way, if you have a particular ability in your perk that lets you fill up a gadget meter by shooting weak spots, it can help fill up that meter quickly. If you get pulled by a Scrake when it uses its grab attack, you cannot immediately use your dodge, so try to walk or sprint to the side without his chainsaw. You might get hit once, but then you should dodge away to the side where he's not swinging his chainsaw. Hopefully that will result in no damage being done, and you can prevent getting hit by the second swing because you should be far enough away. As you level up more and increase that operational budget, you can add more mods onto your weapons and increase its trade-up value by letting you buy your favorite weapon faster through the trade-up feature. Before deciding what to start with on the loadout screen, you should craft a weapon that is cheap, but definitely better than your starting weapons. You would still have to level up a bit, let's say around level 18 for a weapon with 3 mods, but usually you can just slap on better ammunition like armor piercing to stumble and deal with large Zeds, and heavy frame for more damage, and just upgrade them until they reach their maximum level. This would allow you to run a cheap, but better starter weapon that kills more effectively. Be careful when crafting weapon mods you don't really want. When you recycle your mods, you only make back around 67% of what you put into it. Sliding forward covers more distance faster than side strafing forward. You can block different Z attacks, but a differing amount of times. For example, the gray looking clots take around 4 hits before your block is completely destroyed. For bigger but still common Zeds, the Gorefast only takes about 2 strikes before your block is broken. And for the larger Zeds like the Fleshpound and the Scrake, you can technically block the bigger Zeds, but unlike smaller Zeds where you take no damage, you will just take reduced damage. For all the commandos out there, the Fire Sale ability gives you more money than the other perk, because you will only ever really save around 533 Dosh when taking into consideration the savings cost when upgrading armor levels, and also 1 full armor restore, which means purchasing 0 to 100 armor repair at least once. This armor repair thing is also kind of volatile, because sometimes you can take a lot of damage and need to repair more often, and other times you take very little damage. So it's hard to pinpoint, but when comparing against ammo savings, you'll always be spending a lot on ammo between rounds. When comparing 500 rounds of Scar EIR ammo with and without the perk, total savings turned out to be around 833 per round. And assuming conservatively, we purchase 300 bullets each round, that's around 516 Dosh. And multiplying that by 5 rounds for 5 different trader interactions, that's a little over 2,500 saved each game. Here are the numbers that I'll briefly flash if you are interested in the numbers I used for calculations. Different weapon mods give different costs, even if they're covering the same category of mod. For example, a reflex sight would be a different cost compared to a red dot sight, even though they both fill the sight's category. At the start of a game, before entering the map, you can choose your loadout and pick a primary you want to bring, which even includes all the weapons you crafted in your armory. You can also swap your utility item for no extra cost. For example, a commando starts with an ammo bag, but you can replace it with a med bag. You can also start with an upgraded armor, which gives better resistance and total hit points right off the bat. There are big gas tanks around the map Army Depot that leak fuel when shot at. If shot at enough, it can also catch fire and blow up, which leaves a large area of lingering flames. A lot of boss attacks are hard to parry because their common attacks are usually sudden lunge attacks that's not really telegraphed well. With enough persistence, I was able to get one parry off on the Queen Crawler, but it's going to take some practice to reliably use it in a pinch. When destroying items, here's the breakdown of what each drops. The satellite tripod thingy drops biosteel, and it's found on the maps Army Depot, Radar Station, Convoy, and Sewers. And for your regular cameras, these are like the CCTV looking ones, those drop electrical parts and scrap metal, and they are found on the maps Army Depot, R&D Lab, City Streets, Radar Station, Horzine Factory, Convoy, Offices, and Sewers. The small cameras slash speaker looking things, these are the ones that are really pressed up against the walls and stuff like that. These drop scrap metal, and they're found on Army Depot, City Streets, Radar Station, Horzine Factory, Convoy, Offices, and Sewers. The big camera slash big speaker looking things that are usually found on metal posts drop electrical parts and scrap metal. They are found on the maps Army Depot and Convoy. And for the electrical panels, these drop electrical parts and scrap metal. They are found on R&D Lab, Horzine Factory, Offices, and Sewers. You cannot shoot the Egg Projectiles out of the air from the Queen Crawler when it's in its phase. When fighting the Queen Crawler in the second phase, when the Queen opens portals for Larvae to come out, you can throw a grenade to kill all of them. If you have Commando's impact grenade ability, then it's even better. You also cannot shoot the Impaler boss's rockets out of the air when it's on its second phase. When activating the big fan traps, like on Horzine Factory, even bosses can get sucked up into the trap and take damage, if they're close enough. You can purchase weapons from other perks, so for example, a commando can purchase a firebug's weapons. The same could be said for all of the other classes. When landing executions, you're effectively invulnerable until the execution is over. You can press E on a turret to use it free of charge if you've already activated it once before. However, it cannot be activated remotely using E, so you'd have to be right on top of the turret in order to do it this way. For the IR-50 Brimstone weapon on Firebug, if you're fast enough, the semi-auto mode is actually a lot faster than the full auto mode. For Firebug's Wildfire ability, you can actually bypass a Siren's sound barrier attack and kill it. During each wave, you can hold F to find where the next trader will be. If you go to that trader, you can actually purchase a refill for some amount of Dosh that replenishes some ammo and heals you. It also gives you some more stims. You can do this an unlimited amount of times, you just have to make sure that you are short on something. For example, if you have maximum ammo, you cannot refill your ammo. Hello everyone, I know some of you are disappointed that this isn't Escape from Tarkov, but I figured since it's also guide related, it fits pretty well on the channel. I kind of ran out of ideas on things to make for guides on Tarkov, so for now I'll be making videos on Killing Floor 3, since it's kind of new and I've also been enjoying playing it. But I am open to suggestions. As always, I appreciate you all taking the time to watch this video, and I hope you'll continue to get value out of these guides. Thank you again for watching, and take care.